This chapter is called The Possibility of Tomorrow. So we will see what we'll go through, basically to look at how to develop the principles for sustainable ocean economy and what contributions oceans can make. Broadly speaking, here again we are looking at our favorite map from the ocean point of view, and principles include guaranteeing equity, growing regeneratively, aligned with the Paris Agreement 1.5 degrees centigrade target, base decisions and accountability on science and ensure transparency, build agile institutions that are able to react quickly, adopt a planetary insurance mindset, align short-term self-interest with the long-term communal and individual benefits. So economy means people have to have employment, income, and so on. These are broad principles but are essential in terms of incorporating them into whatever sustainable ocean economy developments happen within countries and across international cooperations. This is a new contours of sustainable ocean economy. So we are looking at sustainable ocean food production, ocean clean ocean energy, ocean restoration and protection, tourism and low carbon transportation and ports. And then we see the connections there in terms of zero carbon fuel, pescatourism, why not, spillover effects from marine protected areas, ecotourism here, and MPAs hosted in a wind farm. So offshore wind energy is going to probably take off quite a bit. US just started new activities under the Biden administration plans, and the idea is to give people a sense of involvement through tourism and ecotourism, which happens right now, but the care needed to be taken doesn't happen as much as it should. For example, the example of sunscreen polluting the waters around Great Barrier Reef and causing some damage. So these sorts of things have to be taken care of as well. But nonetheless, making people realize that biodiversity hotspots and reefs and in general ocean are places to visit like national parks, and that they can actually contribute to the conservation effort obviously will benefit everybody. This is a schematic of a sustainable economy that can create a triple win for people, nature, and economy. So it's got it under it protect effectively, produce sustainably, and prosper equitably as a paradigm for sustainable ocean economy. So we have 30% fully protected MPAs, marine protected areas, would restore and protect habitats and biodiversity, 40 times more renewable energy by 2050, 6 times more sustainable seafood by 2050 to meet the demands that we looked at before, which will fall short under business as usual. 15.5 trillion US dollars in net benefits from sustainable ocean investments by 2050. These kinds of economic calculations have some details behind them, some assumptions, some expectations of new technologies, cooperations, rules, policies, and so on. Nonetheless, you can think of them as, let's say, potential net benefits till the realization happens. 12 million new jobs, which is very important, by 2030, which any climate action is always going to be somewhat of a two-step forward, one step back kind of a dance, because as you probably read, some of you, Biden made great climate plans, but his actions on some of the protected areas where drilling needs to happen is kind of a not completely aligned with the climate goals. So this political needs to meet compromises, to make compromises, is always going to have impact. So creating employment is one of the great incentives for driving compromises on climate funding funding for climate actions. 1/5 of the greenhouse gas reductions needed to keep the world within 1.5 degrees C, so 20% is what we looked at before as well in terms of what oceans can sequester. Looking at contribution of 5 ocean-based climate action areas to mitigate climate change in 2030, maximum gigaton CO2 equivalent, so maximum annual emission reductions here in gigaton CO2 equivalents, ocean-based renewable energy, ocean-based transport, coastal and marine ecosystems, fisheries, aquaculture and dietary shifts, carbon storage in seabed, total ocean-based solutions adding up over here to 3.5 gigaton CO2 equivalent out of so that's 12% of the needed greenhouse gas emission reductions by 2030, which is 30 gigaton CO2 equivalent. So you can see the numbers vary depending on how you do it, but these provide specific portfolios for ocean solutions over which the carbon drawdown can be distributed. Creating marine protected areas, it's a kind of a guide here. So stage of establishment: committed, designated, implemented, and actively managed. And on this axis you have level of protection, where you are either fully protected, so no fishing activities whatsoever, highly protected, lightly protected, and minimally protected, so some kind of a volunteer actions involved here in terms of fishing boats and other activities, ecotourism or whatever else. So this is the region where types of MPAs would be needed to support a sustainable ocean economy. So they have to be fully or highly protected and actively managed. And considering large parts of the ocean are under international jurisdiction, a lot of it comes under the International Ocean Intergovernmental Ocean Commission, I think, under UNESCO. So that has to be dealt with. We will see later on how some of these governance structures are set up. Ocean food and energy production potential increase under a sustainable ocean economy scenario. Potential additional food production under sustainable practices. In edible weight, a price of US equivalent at 5,500 per metric ton. So graphs are in million metric tons per year, as we saw before also. So here we have currently 58 in terms of additional ocean food production under sustainable practices. Optimistic future production projection puts it at 6 times, so 364. 6 times the current annual animal seafood production, and about 3 times the production increase required for the EAT Lancet diet. So this is a expert recommendation for a climate-friendly diet, which you should read up if you are interested in details. That aims at 2050 requirements. Potential capacity increase in offshore wind in gigawatts globally. Baseline in 2018 is 23. IEA, International Energy Association, by 2050 projects 437 potential in terms of potential capacity. Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development puts it at 900 gigawatts, and IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, puts it at 1,000 gigawatts. So this is 20% increase, 40% and 45%. Sorry, 20 times, 40 times and 45 times the increase. So food agriculture in general is a massive contributor, and the fleet that are used for fish and shipping, almost like fish and chips. Fishing and shipping contribute significantly to the emissions, so anything we can do there is important, as we will see later on. This is 2010 to 30 job creation associated with different OECD scenarios and gross value added here in US in dollars in trillions. So 2010, 1.5. Unsustainable scenario, the gross value added is at 2.8. Business as usual scenario, is at 3.0, but sustainable scenario can raise it to $3.2 trillion, so 400 billion or unsustainable scenarios. So the main point is that you can add gross value by being sustainable, and there is no need to continue business as usual or the unsustainable scenarios. How great is that? You can be sustainable and add more value. Jobs, again, 2010 baseline at 31 million, unsustainable would add 36, business as usual scenario would add 41, and sustainable scenario would actually add 43 million, so that's 7 million higher than unsustainable scenario. So when it's free for all, like the Wild West of the open ocean, people don't optimize, they don't realize what benefits actually can be accrued by following sustainable cooperative scenarios and following regulations and sharing the resources, managing the commons, so-called commons, which are shared resources. But these kind of reports hopefully will make that possible in terms of cooperation and implementation. Benefit cost ratios and net benefits by 2050 for 4 sustainable ocean-based interventions. Under Adapt Now, which I have on this course as well, we looked at similar cost benefit ratios and net benefits on investing in here conservation and restoration of mangroves. The cost benefit is 3 to 1. Net benefit would be 0.2 trillion. We looked at many such calculations under drawdown as well. Decarbonization of international shipping, cost benefit would be 4:1. Sorry. Net benefits would be 5.1 trillion. Ocean-based food production, 10 to 1, $6.7 trillion net benefits. Offshore wind energy production, 12 to 1 in cost benefit ratio, so 3.5 trillion, so a total of 15.5 trillion in net benefits by following these ocean economic plans for benefiting humans, nature, and ecosystems and economy. So here are the examples of positive economic impacts of marine protected areas in various regions. Cap de Cruz in Spain, net benefits at $3 billion over 20 years. Korean Islands in Tunisia, net benefits at 50 million euros over 20 years. Turkey, net benefits of 897 million euros over 20 years, and so on. So Great Barrier Reef Australia, which is critical resource for the world, like the Amazon forest on land, Australian dollars 1,650 million a year. 1,650 million Australian dollars per year. 10 MPAs in Vanuatu and Fiji, net benefits of dollars 0.109 to 0.42 million a year per square kilometer. Just think about it. Cape Rodney Okakari Point Marine Reserve in New Zealand, net benefit New Zealand dollars of $8.6 million per year. Okay, so the economic calculations are critical to motivate investments and accounting and managing oceans sustainably and benefiting in terms of food production, food security, carbon drawdown, global warming targets, employment, and so on, right? Who doesn't like seafood? I love seafood. I love sushi. Anything that can keep the good sushis going and reduce greenhouse gases and produce employment and save the oceans, I'm all for it, right?